back to my channel. In today's video, we're going to talk about the case of Libby Squire. But before we start this video, please make sure to subscribe to my channel if you haven't done already and click the bell next to the subscribe button so you get notified every time I upload a new video. I post videos every Saturday. And if you want to suggest a case, you can reach out to me through the comments or through my social media. My Instagram and my Twitter will be linked down below in the description box. And having all that said, let's just start this video. 21-year-old Libby Squire disappeared on January 31st of 2019, and she was last seen sitting on a bench near Beverly Road. I forgot to mention, but this case takes place in England. An hour before she went missing, she tried to go to Welly nightclub in Beverly Road, but she was turned away. On the next day, February 1st, police received an appeal about a missing student. She studied at the University of Hull in the city of Kingston. Humberside police carried out large-scale searches and door-to-door inquiries. They initially focused around the area where she was last seen and her home in nearby Wesley Avenue. More than 50 police and a police helicopter were involved in the searches. The door-to-door inquiries were carried out with 300 training officers, and police also asked people to check their sheds and outbuildings. Libby's fellow students also helped looking for her, searching the University of Hull grounds. There were reports of a man that apparently had stopped to help Libby that night she went missing. Police interviewed him and he was ruled out as a suspect. But at this point, no one knows who that man is. By February 22nd, the focus switched to Oak Road playing fields. It was very cold that day, so they had to break the ice to search the water, and the searches around Libby's home and Oak Road playing fields continued during the weekend. On Monday, Libby's parents made an emotional appeal for her safe return. On the same day, Marine Police joined the searches and they searched the Brimstone Drain. 5 days later, a large solidarity event took place in the University of Hull, and that was attended by Libby's parents. The searches continued, and on Wednesday, February 6th, when police searched a property in Raglan Street, they saw a car being towed away. Forensic teams were seen going in and out of the property as searches continue in the Oak Road playing fields. A week after Libby went missing, police announced that they were treating her disappearance as an abduction. The man that had been ruled out as a suspect was arrested on suspicion of kidnapped. CCTV showed Libby heading to the Welly nightclub on the night she went missing. So police issued CCTV of people they wanted to talk to after being captured in the Oak Road area in the hours after Libby went missing. And while this was happening, the search was still going on. On March 20th, the news that no one wanted to receive arrived. Police confirmed the body had been recovered from the river. After her body had been found, police announced they were treating her death as a potential homicide. Libby's funeral took place on October 3rd at her home village in West Wycombe. As I said earlier, there was a man that was arrested for her kidnapped. That man was Powell Relowitz. I have no idea how to pronounce his last name. But on October 24, police announced that he was charged with the rape and murder of Libby Squire. The trial was set for June 22nd, but due to the pandemic, it had to be delayed for 7 months. So it was set for January 12th of 2021, and it was expected to last 4 weeks. But before Libby was murdered, there were people that saw her that night and tried to help her because she seemed to be distressed, unsteady on her feet. She was sobbing. She was not okay. Everyone could tell that she was not okay, and there were a lot of people who tried to help her that night. All these witnesses came to court and talked about what happened in their encounters with Libby that night. So there were 3 friends that were waiting for a taxi on Wesley Avenue when they saw Libby got out of a taxi. One of the friends, the young Kaplan, said on court that Libby stumped against the wall and onto the floor. One of the other men, Ollie Prince, asked Libby if she was okay along with George Thompson, but she just ignored him and got up and started walking towards Beverly Road. And Leon also said that she was stumbling. She couldn't even walk a straight line. At around 11:30 p.m., Hannah Wright, who lives on Wesley Avenue, said she found Libby sobbing outside of her bedroom window. Hannah went outside to see what was going on, and she found Libby sitting on the floor sobbing. She helped her get up and brought her into the hallway just inside of the front door. They were joined by Hannah's housemates. The 3 of them asked Libby if she was okay, if she needed help, if there was someone they could call to. Hannah said that Libby looked disorientated but had no visible injuries. Libby never said her name or where she lived. The only thing she said was that she was upset that one of her friends was moving out. Then Libby asked it to go and Hannah opened the door for us. I mean, there was nothing they could do more if she didn't want to be there with them, if she didn't want them to call anyone. There was nothing more that they could do. They still asked her if she needed help to get home, but Libby just walked towards the Beverly Road. The three housemates were a bit shocked and they just hoped that Libby would make home safe. But on the next day, Hannah saw a picture of a missing girl on Facebook and she was 100% sure that was the same girl from the night before. She sent that picture to a group chat and one of her housemates also said that she was sure that it was the same girl. So they called police and informed them that they had saw her the night before. But there was a person who saw Libby shortly after Libby had been seen in Wesley Avenue by those three men that were waiting for a taxi. Beth Green, who was also a student at the University of Hull, had just left the Halworth Arms when she saw Libby in Beverly Road. Libby was walking towards Beth and she was stumbling and Beth could tell that she was drunk and that she was crying. She asked Libby if she was okay and Libby told her she was trying to get to Wesley Avenue, but she didn't stop walking and Beth shouted at her that she was walking in the wrong direction, but she didn't stop, she just continued walking and Beth wasn't even sure if she had heard her. Lorna Allen says she was walking on Beverly Road when she saw Libby just before midnight. She said Libby was at a bus stop near Howard Street. She was laid flat out on the floor. Lorna stayed at her feet and she looked at her and she didn't see any injuries, but Libby was talking to herself and slurring her words. Lorna asked if she was alright and Libby said that she just wanted to go home. Libby got up and Lorna still watched her for 5 minutes because she was concerned because that girl didn't look okay. But then Libby started walking towards the Ensley Center. Then Lorna started walking in the opposite direction and when she looked back, she couldn't see Libby anymore. Lorna said she was scared to call the police, but later when they showed a picture of the missing girl, she recognized Libby. There were two more men who tried to help Libby that night. The friends Roland Jacobs and Alan Jones were returning from a darts match at Banks Harbor when they saw Libby in Beverly Road. Roland said that Libby was laying on the floor and it was snowing that night, so she was laying on the snow. Alan told him to stop the car because he wouldn't like to see his daughter that way, so they needed to at least try to help her. And I wish there were more people like him in this world. They walked over to her and they noticed she had bloodied knees. Roland also told in court that Libby was crying, mumbling, and talking to herself. They asked her to get up, but she just kept mumbling to herself and they couldn't even understand what she was saying. Then she asked one of them to lay down on her and he said no and tried to get her up. Roland asked her if she had a phone so he could call to someone to come and get her, but she said that her phone was with her friends. Then he asked her where her friends were, but he couldn't understand what she was trying to say. Then he asked her if she could tell him where she lived so he could give her a ride home, but once again, he couldn't understand what she was saying. He even asked Alan if he could understand what Libby was saying, and he couldn't either. So then she started to swear at them and sat on a bench next to the bus stop. So it appeared that she didn't want their help, so they got into the car and went home. But they say they stayed with her for around 10 minutes before they left. According to Richard Wright, after these encounters, Libby was stalked and intercepted by Powell, and he forced her or persuaded her into his car. The prosecution claimed that he then drove her nearby Oak Road playing fields, he raped her and murdered her, and then pushed her body into the river. Powell, who was a father of two and worked as a butcher in Malton, North Yorkshire, had a series of previous sex offenses. He told the court that he came across Libby while he was driving around looking for a woman to have easy sex with. The jury was made aware that Powell had been convicted of 9 sexual offenses carried out between July of 2017 and January 20th of 2019, just 11 days before he raped and killed Libby. On January 20th, he exposed himself to a woman on the same street that Libby lived. He admitted that on January 31st, he was looking for an opportunity to commit a similar offense. He parked on Hathor Street with the intention of looking through the windows and masturbating. However, he denied raping and murdering Libby. During the trial, he was asked if he was aware and if he accepted that he had a problem, because that's not normal to just drive around and wanting to look through windows while you're masturbating. That's not normal. And he said yes, but it was difficult to him to accept that because he had a wife and he had 2 kids, and he was afraid that his wife wouldn't accept that. Later on, he said he saw how distressed and intoxicated Libby was, and he offered to give her a ride home. He was acting as a good Samaritan, as if he just wanted to help. He said he was actually trying to get her home, but he couldn't get an address out of her, so he drove to Oak Road playing fields because he thought she was going to be sick. He said that he had consensual sex with her, that she even kissed him back, but let's get one thing straight. For a person to give consent, they have to be fully aware of their actions. They can't be under the influence of alcohol or drugs or whatever. Everyone said that she couldn't even walk a straight line. She was slurring her words. She was crying. She was not okay. Most people that saw her that night believe that she was drunk. And even if she wasn't, she clearly was not fully aware of what she was doing. She didn't really know because she was not okay. Everyone could tell that. So she couldn't give consent. I don't care if she kissed him back. She wasn't in a condition where she was fully aware of what she was doing, so she couldn't give consent. So it was rape. He took advantage of her. He saw how vulnerable she was and took advantage of that. That is rape. So after he was done raping her, because even though he said his consensual sex, that was rape. We talked about that already. He said that she tried to kiss him again, but he turned away and she scratched his face. And then he just got in the car and started driving and left her there while she was shouting at him. And he denies pushing her body into the river, as he told he just left her there and drove away, and she was alive the last time he saw her. On Libby's body was found sperm cells with a DNA profile matching Powell's DNA. It was impossible to determine her cause of death or whether she was dead or alive before she entered the water. And this was due to the amount of time that her body had been into the river. After a 13-day trial at the Sheffield Crown Court, Powell was convicted of raping and murdering Libby Squire. He was given a life sentence with a minimum term of 27 years. So one thing is for sure, and there's no doubt, he raped Libby, but did he murder her? Well, when he was interviewed by police and they told him they had found Libby's body in the river, he laughed and smirked. That tells me that he wasn't surprised at all, that he kind of expected that. So I believe he pushed her body into the river, and maybe she was alive before entering the water. Maybe she drowned, but they were never able to determine the cause of her death because her body had been underwater for a large amount of time. But tell me in the comments what you guys think about this case. And I don't know if this was the case or not, but she was found alone and drunk, and she didn't have her phone with her. Her phone was with her friends, so that makes me think, was she drinking like with her friends out somewhere and they left her alone? Oh, they didn't even notice that she walked away from them. Well, I don't know if this was the case or not, but please never leave your friends alone if they were drinking. Even if they weren't, never leave them alone at night, because things like this can happen. And to think that there were so many people that crossed paths with Libby that night, and I mean, they did everything they could to help her, but it still feels like it wasn't enough. At least if I was in their place, I would feel like a little guilty, even though it was not my fault that it happened. But they tried to help her, and she just walked away from them. There was nothing more they could do. So sad to think that so many people tried to help her, and it feels like it wasn't enough. But at the same time, they did everything they could. It's really sad that this case ended like this. So let me know in the comments your thoughts about this case. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel and turn the post notifications on so you get notified every time I upload a new video. I post videos every Saturday. And if you want to suggest a case, you can reach out to me through the comments or through my social media. My Instagram and my Twitter will be linked down below in the description box. And yeah, that's all for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you on next Saturday. Bye bye!